Hello, everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. I hope you're all doing very, very well on this Sunday afternoon, Sunday lunchtime. We are back with another show regarding Chelsea, even though we know that we're not going to be seeing Chelsea this week, and we haven't seen Chelsea this weekend. It's all about the internationals in that sense. And obviously, Thomas Tuchel. We've got a bit of news regarding our midfield, or should I say our future midfield, because the players that we're going to be speaking about today haven't actually played for Chelsea, haven't even worn a Chelsea shirt. There's nothing to, there's nothing really more to say about what they've done for us, because they haven't done anything for us, because they haven't played for us. But when we look at our midfield as a whole, what do we see? What's good? What's not? What does the future look like? And is it any good? Do we have reason to be excited, or should we be looking at this with a pinch of salt, basically saying you can't count on anything, Alex? To be quite frank, we don't even know these players are going to be playing for Chelsea. They could be sold. But I want to look at it from both sides, as always. I want to try and be sort of the devil's advocate here and look at the positives and the negatives. So smash the like button if you haven't already, guys. Subscribe to the channel. It massively helps, and it shows that you're enjoying the content, which encourages us to make more as well. Now, first of all, we need to look, before we dive into the midfielders that are going to be coming in, we need to look at who we already have within this squad, who is currently a part of Chelsea's first team. Now, if you go on the Chelsea website, it's it shows you the different players that you have, and then you can go to who we have out on loan as well. So let's have a little look. Let's look together and let's see where we're at and what we need. So if you look at our first team, you can see we're going through the defense, etc., and then you come onto the midfield, and you've got Enzo Fernandez, who's clearly going to be staying at Chelsea. Dewsbury Hall, who I think is going to be leaving. Caicedo, Kellyman, who hasn't played any minutes since he come from Aston Villa. Amuga, who will be going straight to Strasbourg. Lavia, I don't think he's leaving anytime soon either. So that is the bulk of our midfield. Not actually an awful lot when you come to think of it. And when you're looking for starters, you can see 1, 2, 3 players that can start in your midfield that you can say, well, actually, you do have enough quality. You are good enough. Is that a problem? It is a problem, and it will become a much bigger problem if we have Champions League football. Even with Europa League football, to be quite frank, we can't get away with rotating as heavily as we have been in the Conference League, because there is a significant there's just much better quality in the Europa League. Like, I actually think the Europa League is a competition that needs to be taken seriously. You look at teams like Man United, for example, and you'd say, well, when Mourinho was their manager, everyone knew they were going to win that competition. Like, how could you not win it? But now it seems to be more competitive than it's ever been. And I just don't see how, with only 3 top midfielders, one of which is extremely injury-prone, Lavia, how you're going to even be able to operate within that competition. And then you've got Dewsbury Hall, who's not good enough, and Mugu is not ready, and Kellyman, who's always injured. So we clearly need to go in the market and upgrade. And we have a number of players out on loan as well. And we're talking midfield here today, guys. Now, we've seen Vega as a midfielder for Chelsea. Like, he's not part of our plans in the midfield. We know that. We've got Ugochukwu out on loan. He's at Southampton. Chukwuemeka is at Dortmund. Santos is at Strasbourg. And those are our main midfielders that we'll be looking at in that regard. So these 3 here. Now, I think the decision is probably going to be made on Chukwuemeka to send him out on loan again, because this loan spell hasn't really worked. It hasn't been a success. It's been quite a big failure, as far as I'm aware, at Dortmund. And I'm surprised about it as well, because well, we've all seen how good Chukwuemeka is. So the fact that he hasn't been playing, from what I've heard, and I don't really watch the German league too much, from what I hear, he's not been playing an awful lot out there, which is really, really worrying. The more I think about it, he's only made 3 appearances. 3 appearances. And he's not made any of those appearances as a starter in Germany. All of the Chukwuemeka's appearances have been off the bench. Okay, so when you look at his stats in the Bundesliga, he's played 10% of the minutes available, but he started 0%. So he's clearly not playing a lot of minutes. That's in the Bundesliga and the Champions League. Again, 2 appearances off of the bench, probably very minimal minutes. And then he played for us a little bit in the Conference League and the Carabao Cup as well. But no GA whatsoever this season. 0 GA. That is not a player that is going to get snapped up for 40 million. Now, we know how good Chukwuemeka is, or how good he can be. Those of you who had faith in him, especially last season, Pochettino was going to build his squad around having Chukwuemeka as a number 10. But yeah, it's not going to happen. I just don't see it happening. So in that regard, I think that we can look at this midfield and we can categorically rule out Chukwuemeka being a player for us next season, as in, part of the plan. I mean, he could still be a Chelsea player, but he's not going to be taking part in many games. So yeah, I think it's, well, so we see there's been a few injuries as well. He's missed 5 games, but I mean, 5 games doesn't excuse 0 GA either, does it? I'm not saying he's had an easy ride, but I'm just looking at the numbers here, guys. We know that Chukwuemeka should have been given more of a chance, but he hasn't. Big up to Ranyo. Hope you're doing well. Unknown future players could be fire or bomb. You're absolutely right. Donna is back. She missed me. Thanks, Donna. I've missed you so much, so much. How's life? Big up to Stephen as well. The future is based on potential. Yep, couldn't agree more. Although I will say Andrey Santos is proving his potential. There's no denying that. Big up to Jordan as well. Right. So Chukwuemeka is out of the question at Chelsea. Ugochukwu and Santos are the next players that we have out on loan. Now, again, Ugochukwu is a player for me. Now, I know we've just signed, what's his name? Those 2 players from Sporting. We signed Quenda and we signed the other one called Dario Essugo. Now, we are going to touch on Essugo, but obviously he's not at Chelsea right now, but he's going to come in the summer and he's going to be second fiddle to Caicedo. So it's important to understand, where does that leave Leslie Ugochukwu? Because in my opinion, Ugochukwu is capable of being a part of this team, and he was one of the best players in pre-season. He was a dark horse in pre-season, not only in terms of the way he played and adapt to Maresca's system, but also the fact that we got goals from him. And in a midfield where we need goals, if I'm seeing that from Ugochukwu in pre-season, that's telling me that maybe he's got something to offer throughout a season and should be given a chance to prove his worth in that sense. So yeah, let's look at Leslie Ugochukwu as well. So this is what we see when we see Ugochukwu over here, guys. And this is for Southampton this season. Now, obviously, he's played a lot more games than Ugochukwu in the Prem, but he's not been playing for a good side. Now, his minutes have increased under the new management of Juric, whatever his name is. He's played 18 games, 1 assist in those games. No red cards, but he's got 4 yellows. Starting 34% of the game, 39% of the minutes available. He's involved in 5% of the goals. Take this with a pinch of salt because of the change of management. The FA Cup is similar. He played a few games in there. He got an assist. He played games in the Carabao as well. Now, if you look at his game time, that has gone up, if I'm not wrong, towards the recent part of this season because of the change in management. But again, I mean, I'm not going to sit and say Southampton's manager is doing a great job because he's clearly not. But if you look at the beginning of the season for Leslie Ugochukwu, the minutes are extremely limited. Extremely limited. And I don't really understand why, to be quite frank, but they have been. So the first 3 games, he wasn't in the squad. He played 64 minutes, 31, 45. He was on the bench again. So again, not even getting a full 90 for the first 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 games. And then he finally started against West Ham in the 18th game. Now, I'm not actually sure if Russell Martin was sacked at this point at Southampton, but 18 games is a long time to be out of the squad and not being a part of the plans. That tells me, from this perspective, like if you're a Ugochukwu, you're not feeling very confident, are you? You're not feeling great. You're thinking, hang on a second, I came from Chelsea to Southampton, the worst Premier League squad, knowing that I would almost certainly have minutes because it's the worst Premier League squad, and I'm still not getting played. And then he finally got started. And what we've seen is gradually, as the season's gone on, those numbers on the side here, which you can see on the far right, those are the minutes that he's played. Those numbers are going up, right, compared to the beginning of the season. And yeah, he's getting more experience. He is getting more experience. But also, look at the amount of red we're seeing here. Is this good experience for a young player trying to break into whatever you want to call us, a Champions League side or a team that want to get to the Champions League or a team that want to compete for loads of trophies, whatever you want to call it? Is this good experience to then come into Chelsea? Is this mentality, which, by the way, you have to get used to because you're going through it for the whole season, losing every week. Is that a mentality that is going to be helpful to the player? Like you could say he's resilient, you know, in that sense. I mean, I don't know. But for this reason, and there are a couple, you could understand in a way why Ugochukwu doesn't feature as much next season, because although he's had a lot of experience on loan, like his teams haven't really performed. So, you know, a big part of reviewing players is seeing the teams that they play for. If a player plays well in a poor team, then you say, okay, fine, he needs to play with a better team. And if he plays well with a better team, you go, well, he's a top player who plays in the top team. Brilliant. I'm not really sure about Ugochukwu. I haven't really heard much about him. If you look at his performances over the course of the season, I mean, SofaScore has him as a pretty average performer. I mean, it's not bad stats in that sense, I'll be honest with you. I mean, SofaScore here, we've got Ugochukwu with an average rating of 6.69. Now, does that mean anything? I don't know. Let's compare him. Let's compare him to Enzo Fernandez, 6.69. What's Enzo Fernandez's average score? Okay, 7.23. What's Caicedo's average score? 7.21. What about Dewsbury Hall? Let's cover all avenues here, guys. Even Dewsbury Hall has a higher, okay, no, about the same rating as Ugochukwu. So if you're just looking at, and this is one factor, okay, I'm not saying that this is everything, but numbers do mean something. Now, Ugochukwu's Premier League ratings, according to SofaScore, are much better than Dewsbury Hall. Are they better than Santos? Definitely not. What about who's the new player that we're looking at? Essugo. Not as good as Essugo either. So that tells me that actually looking at those stats and looking at the experience that Leslie Ugochukwu has had at Southampton, limited minutes for half the season, not his fault entirely. He had a poor manager who I don't know why he never utilised Ugochukwu, but he didn't. And then the new managers come in and obviously played him, right? I don't see how Ugochukwu necessarily has a future at Chelsea based on the fact that we just signed not only Quenda, I mean, Quenda's irrelevant this because he's a winger, but Dario Essugo. So, again, I'm looking at this, and again, you go back to what I just showed you. The numbers aren't great. They're not great. I mean, you say, well, he's okay in the FA. He played 2 games and he played 3 games in the EFL Cup. You know, he's had some good games for for Southampton, but it's just not enough to judge Ugochukwu. It's not really enough. Like, this is what we have to work with, guys. Is this good enough for Chelsea? And I'm not criticizing Ugochukwu again. Let me say, I'm not criticizing him, but I'm putting the numbers out there. Like, we only have so much to judge a player on and make the assumptions of who's good enough and who's not. Now, Ugochukwu, he signed for us in 2023 in August. He signed a 7-year contract. And, you know, he's basically been involved with the squad when he first come in. He comes straight into the team. But he never cemented himself as a starter. He's never really been that player that you think, oh, okay, yeah, we're going to build this team around Ugochukwu. So, yeah, I don't see how it works. I don't see how it works in that sense. And for that reason, I'm going to say that I think Ugochukwu will not be a part of Chelsea's plans next season. I don't think he's going to be a part of Chelsea's project. Potentially, you could say that he could be sold. How much did we pay for him? He's worth about 25 million euros at the moment. We paid 27 million euros for him, 23.5 million pounds. There's not a huge profit to be made on this player. Now, as well, if I'm not wrong, when I saw what Simon Phillips and David Ornstein said about our project and our process, which, by the way, they finally woken up and smelt the coffee. It's like, oh, hang on a second. Maybe Chelsea aren't buying all of their players for footballing reasons. Maybe there is an element of just flipping players like their real estate. And we've seen that now. I mean, we've already been aware of this for a fairly decent amount of time. I think that Ugochukwu was going to be sold. I think he's going to be sold. And I think they'll try and sell Carney Chukwuemeka. I think they'll struggle to sell Chukwuemeka. I think they'll end up putting him back on loan. But I think Ugochukwu will get sold. And I think that they'll probably just bite the bullet and sell him for what they paid. So we're looking around 25 million, maybe 30 million tops for another team to buy him. I could see Ugochukwu maybe going to a French side. We know we bought him from Rennes. He was doing well out there. He's got capabilities, but he needs to play in a better team for his qualities to shine through. With Chukwuemeka, he needs more minutes, and he needs to stop getting injured as well, because we're going to struggle to sell players who are constantly injured. And Chukwuemeka has not had that going for him recently. His injury record has been quite poor. in that respect. He got injured last season when Poch was trying to build the team around him. I've just been told as well that he's picked up an injury at Dortmund. He hasn't been available for half the time he's been there. So how is any club supposed to trust a player that they can't count on to stay fit in the first place? I've spoken about this with Fofana. To be fair, it's not a bad thing to speak about it with Lavia either, although Lavia is so good when he plays, it kind of makes me brush it off a little bit, whereas I think Fofana still does make mistakes, but you can see Fofana's our best defender. I agree with that. One of our best defenders. So then we move on to Andrey Santos. Okay, so we've established Ugochukwu most likely will be getting sold. Chukwuemeka, we will look to get rid of him as well. So what are we going to do with Andrey Santos? By the way, the guy is absolutely balling out in Strasbourg. He is just a world beater out there. And I have to say, in terms of developing players, Strasbourg has been a real asset to Chelsea from the perspective of Petrovic, Santos as well, two players that are really shining at the moment. I know that we have Diego Moreira, who we sold to Strasbourg permanently, who's performing quite well, as I also hear. So Strasbourg is proven to be a real asset for Chelsea in that regard. Now, looking at what Andrey Santos has done so far this season, this is what we're seeing. We're seeing 24 appearances in Liga, 8 goals, 2 assists, 5 yellow cards, no reds. He's starting 92% of the games and he's playing 91% of the minutes available, which means when he starts, he very rarely gets taken off. He's involved in a quarter of the goals that Strasbourg score. This is a seriously important player. Again, 10 GA, you'd say if that was a striker or a winger, like fair, that's all right. But for a midfielder, it's exceptional because they're expected to do other things within the game and to contribute with goals and assists. I'm actually surprised he hasn't got more assists. I expected more. But listen, you can't doubt that this is obviously a player who Chelsea have actually, done a great job of developing. I mean, the guy went on loan to Nottingham Forest. He didn't get played at all by Steve Cooper. He was barely in the squad. Like, I don't even know if he played any minutes for Nottingham Forest. And we took him out of that loan early. And we sent him to Strasbourg, and Strasbourg has been a haven for this guy. I mean, he's been fantastic. So, yeah, I mean, the guy deserves nothing but credit for his performances in France. I know that there's been rumors about whether we'll sell him or not. I'm going to presume that we don't sell him, but at the same time, I'm going to be open to the fact that this ownership, for those of you who haven't figured it out, are motivated by cash and money and revenue. If they don't get Champions League football, that is an incentive for them to sell players who then still meet the profit margins that they're looking for. Because, again, I'm not going to speak too much about Bowley in this scenario because Bowley and his consortium spent their own money to buy Chelsea. So that stake of Chelsea, whatever it is, 34% or something like that. Is it 38%? Yeah, 38%. That's how much Bowley's and his consortium own. And then you've got the other 60 odd percent, 62%, that Clear Lake own. That is not Clear Lake's money. That's not Egbali's money and Feliciano's money. It's investors' money. So they need to prove that the club is profitable. So that they can then sell it for a profit later down the line. So it's really important that we understand that players can still be sold, but what is the reasoning behind it? Now, if we still sell players while we have Champions League football, there's nothing short of a disgrace. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think that we'd be pushed into a position to sell more so if we don't get in the Champions League. But honestly, I don't really know what to think anymore. But the stats look pretty good from Santos in that respect. He's also played in the Coupe de France as well. He's had pretty good G in that, 2 games, 2 goals as well. Over the course of this season, if we hone in on, in fact, let's hone in on, oh, fuck's sake. Let's hone in on, oh, for fuck's sake, will it not let me choose a season? Right. Let's look at, last season, and then let's see how he's progressed since he's been at Strasbourg, because there's been a great progression, guys, a really great progression. Now we've gone from, fucking hell, dude. Fuck's sake. Well, whatever. Let's look at it like this. So obviously he started off at Chelsea. He was never going to play for us. He went to Forest and he played the grand total of 97 minutes on loan at Nottingham Forest. Now you can understand then why we took him out of the Forest team and we sent him to Strasbourg for the second half of the season, which is why he only played 11 games, but it's 11 more than he would have played at Forest. So he settled in nicely at France. Obviously, not enough time. 11 games isn't enough to gain anything. But it's 831 minutes compared to what would have been 90. And again, this is over the similar period of time. This is from the beginning of the season with Forest until January. From January until the end of the season with Strasbourg. So a good move from Chelsea to take him out of that loan. We then look at this season and we can see a clear progression. We can see that this player has honestly settled in fantastically. And you can see his stats. This is what I want to show you guys because it's important to see the period of, game by game. What is Andrey Santos contributing to the team? Is he a player that, fuck's sake, is he a player that comes on and makes an impact every now and again, or is he a player that the team can count on? And we want players that we can lean on in difficult periods, especially when we come down and we can see game 1 to 11. But when we go down to, game 19, 20, 30, what happens towards the later periods when it's crunch time and you're competing for trophies or top 4 or a title as well, whatever it is? That's what I want to know. We got the goals here and we got the assists in the green. Okay, now it seems like Santos is more of a goal-scoring midfielder than a creator, but we have enough creators within the team anyway, like Fernandes. Caicedo's actually quite creative in his own right, and then you've obviously got Palmer in there as well. So I don't have any issue with a goal-scoring midfielder. I think that's something that Chelsea are missing. Dewsbury Hall was supposed to fill that void because he was a goal-scoring midfielder at Leicester in the Championship, but that hasn't worked at all. But he's playing 90 minutes in all the games. I mean, the first 13 games, there's only 2 games that he didn't play 90 minutes. So 90% of the time, the guy's starting and he's finishing games. And he's contributing with goals. There you go, 3 goals in 4 games. Another assist, 2 goals against Nantes. They won that game 3-1. A little bit of a dry patch, but then he picked it up. He did pick it up. He got a goal here, an assist here, a goal here. A midfielder's not supposed to do this every week, but if they do, it's like fantastic. It's great. And again, you can see that this is a player that's heavily counted on at Strasbourg. So I have nothing against bringing Andrey Santos to Chelsea. I'm all for it. I think it's a great move for the player in terms of his personal development to come to a club like Chelsea. And I think it's a great move for the club. And I think it gives the manager more options as well, because Maresca does need options. Like, I know I've been critical of Maresca, and Maresca deserves that criticism because his refusal to change anything in terms of his system and basically just do strange things I don't understand. Like, doesn't fill me with any trust. But ultimately, any manager that's given more artillery is going to have more firing power, more flexibility, and they're going to play better football. You get better players, you play better football. Doesn't matter if you're Poch, Potter, Tuchel, or Maresca. Give the guys good players and they'll do well. Andrey Santos is a very good player. You can see that. Okay. Now, if it's not just GA you're looking for, I've also shown you consistency. I've shown you that the guy is available. I've shown you that he did get a yellow card suspension, but he hasn't had any red cards. So these are all good things. These are all positives. I see many more positives with Andrey Santos than I do negatives. Now, you come back up and you see how young the guy is as well. How old is he? Should have his age on there. He's 20 years old. He's 20 years old. I mean, come on, guys. It's exceptional when you look at it from that perspective. I don't understand why people would be against bringing Andrey Santos to Chelsea. But also, I want to go through a little video regarding Andrey Santos, and then we're going to move on to what's his name, Dario Essugo as well. So if you want to hear what happens with Essugo, we will get to that soon. But I just want to show you. I mean, looking at Andrey Santos, this is what we have here. I've got a little compilation for you.
To left, but she's right though. At night she's screaming on my mind. To make you curse, but she a blessing. To rip your shirt within a second. You'll be gone.
To be fair, I might have to turn the sound down for copyright. Sorry about that. But yeah, so I would have the sound, but I think it's going to get copyrighted. So we'll have to watch it without sound. But this guy, if you're not seeing talent right here, then I struggle to see what do you look for with a footballer? He's not a big guy either. He's quite a small player. But I just love the fact that he's got that willingness to just have a crack. And he's got that Brazilian flair as well, but also composure. He doesn't do tricks for the sake of doing tricks. He does tricks. He does intelligent tricks. I'm not talking about a million step overs. He's intricate enough. I mean, God, what a goal that is. I mean, that is unbelievable. We haven't had a midfielder like this in a while. Like, you even look at the best midfield that we had in recent years. Like, we won't talk about Lampard, etc. We had, at one point, we had what? Kovacic, Jorginho, Kante. That was a cracking midfield. But we never really had goals in there. And we still don't. So that's a nice pass. Relatively simple pass, to be fair. Another assist. And he's good defensively as well. Like, this is a guy who's going to win you 50-50s and duels. I just hope that Maresca doesn't coach that flair out of him. I hope that he doesn't. I know that the system requires players to play backwards more, but I hope that we can maintain some of that flair that he's got. Lovely. He's got a good jump as well, hasn't he? Andrey Santos has got a great jump. For a small player, he can get up. I just love the fact that he's willing to shoot as well. That's one of the things that I love. I mean, Fernandes will shoot, in fairness, but he's not a goal scorer, Enzo Fernandez. He looks like more of a... I'd describe Fernandes as more of a creator than a goal scorer and a maestro and someone who helps with the build-up and spreads the passes. I haven't actually watched enough Strasbourg games to tell you definitively what Santos will do. But obviously, we've all heard about him. And he's willing to get in the positions to score goals as well. That's another thing you've got to love. Any midfielder willing to make those runs into the box, he's a midfielder that I'd be impressed with at Chelsea. And he shoots first time as well. Notice that as well. A lot of the times when he has a crack, he doesn't take a million touches. Like, he just goes for it. And that's a good thing. Nice turn there. Lavia-esque. And this is the type of player that we're going to lean on when Lavia gets injured. Or, God forbid, Caicedo gets injured. But he brings multiple aspects to this team. So, yeah, I don't really need to share much more. Like, we get the hint, right? He's a good player. So, let's see what we're saying in the chat. Lil Tucheni says, sell Kieran Dewsbury Hall. Fair enough. Rory says, our problem is that our number 2 players think they're number 1 players, and they're not. So they want to play elsewhere on loan. These players need to reach their careers and acknowledge it, be a team player. I actually totally agree with that, Rory. I totally agree with that. I think that the problem with modern day footballers is their ego is propped up so high. They think that they're something that they're not, which is established. And anytime you go from one club to another, you have to establish yourself. And if you can't establish yourself, then you have to accept that you need to work your way up there. And that can take years. You look at different players going to different clubs who are now, by the way, who became integral parts of certain teams. They didn't necessarily start regularly when they first went. I use Jurgen Klopp as a good example, actually. I remember when Fabinho first went to Liverpool. He never played in his first season. He barely played. And then after, he became a vital player for them, one of their best midfielders. But when he first went there, he barely played. It was similar with Pep Guardiola. And I'm trying to think, God, there was someone else I'm thinking. I think Jurgen Klopp is the main one that I could think of off the top of my head. But like, we've seen it a few times where they sign, I'm not saying like a world beat, but a good player, a very good player who doesn't embed, but they don't complain and they earn their way into the team, because you need to understand what the manager wants from you. You need to get used to the environment, the players around you. It's not a bad thing. So I blame that on, look, management is part of it, because what are people saying to these players before they come that makes them want to come to Chelsea? And I think game time is a big part of that. So then when you don't get game time, you're like, hang on a second. The whole reason I signed for this club was for game time. And now I'm not even getting that. Like, I took a pay cut. That's probably what João Felix is thinking. I took a pay cut. I left a good team, a team that I wasn't happy with, but it's still a good team. I've come to Chelsea, don't play in the Champions League, and I'm not playing. But that's, again, you're an idiot for coming to Chelsea and thinking you're going to start ahead of Cole Palmer. Like, what does Vega think? He's going to start ahead of Cucurella. He's going to start ahead of Colwell and Fofana. Like, you won't when you first start. You're a young player that nobody had heard of when we signed you. You've got to earn your way back in. And from what I heard from Juventus with Vega, and they loved Vega before he got injured, like, that gives me some hope that maybe Vega could do something for Chelsea as a centre-back. But I would have never said that before, because I've barely seen him play there. Callum says we're going to be the first team to win every European trophy available, up to Chelsea. Big up to you, Callum. Jordan says, why the hell did Dortmund spend a loan fee on Chukwuemeka from Chelsea? I would have kept him for Chelsea. He's only played 3 games. What was the point? I feel sorry for him. Yeah, well, look, the players got a say in this as well. You know, I'm sure he probably wanted to leave to get game time, if I'm honest with you. Lil Tuneni says, sorry, not counting my eggs before this gaffer is rubbish. We'll see. Look, from what I've seen so far, I would argue we've seen more. Have we seen more good than bad? Look, we played good football for a while, up until December. The problem that I have with this manager is that he's lowered the standards and he's open about it. And he lies in the press. And his style of football is the least entertaining style I think I've ever seen. It's so boring. It's restricting. I think he regresses some of our players, a lot of our players that performed well last year. I think Gusto has gotten worse under Maresca. I think Palmer, I preferred Palmer on the right-hand side to being in the 10. Also, being in the 10, like not having that 10 spot would have freed up João Felix or Nkunku, other players who could have played in that system and been a key part of this squad. But no, you play Palmer there and then you're stuck with Sancho you're not happy with. Or Madueke on the right-hand side. So I think that the manager and the goalkeeping situation, like, come on. You can't tell me that that's good management. The goalkeeping situation is a disgrace. And he was shaking Timber's hand like, I'm sorry, he can dress it up however he wants in the press. I know people said Maresca addressed it. You heard what Timber said. You heard it. He mugged him off. And Maresca shook his hand and laughed. That doesn't give me any pride. What the fuck is that? Do you think Mourinho does that? Or Conte or Tuchel? Even Poch? I don't think he does that. No manager that has any sort of pride does it. Let someone shake their hand and basically spit on you. I mean, he disrespected him and he just took it. But I want to see more from this manager. If he gets into the Champions League, he will have my respect. And he will have, you know, I'll give him credit for that. I will give him credit for that. Doesn't mean I like him, but I will give him credit because he does deserve credit if he gets us into the Champions League. But also understand this: Champions League is also the minimum expectation, the minimum. And if you are not getting that, then you've already lost the battle, as far as I'm concerned. Right, let's dive into the other midfielder that we were going to talk about, which is Dario Essugo. Okay, now for those of you who don't know Dario Essugo, we've got a little bit of analysis here, courtesy of London's First. This is what he says. He says, Dario Essugo, where do I start? Again, a top talent. I have little doubt again that given time and a good environment, Essugo will become a top player. He's expected to join and be an understudy to Moises Caicedo, which makes sense considering he is early reminiscent of him. Great in first phase build-up and does a lot of nice defensive work. I'd say the only difference between the two is that Essugo probably covers a lot more ground than Caicedo and has a much greater engine while sacrificing abilities on the ball slightly. I do think that both still suffer a bit from a tiny bit of recklessness. Essugo does seem a bit rash at times, much like Caicedo, but eventually I see this maturing into a top ball winning, and ground coverage. He has 2 red cards in his last 5 games for Las Palmas. So we can take a number of things from this already. He's got a lot of quality similar to Caicedo, which is why he's obviously going to be the understudy next season, apparently. Good in the first phase build-up and does a lot of nice defensive work. Again, you would expect that from a player in that position. Now, one thing that does surprise me is that again, I don't know if this is entirely true. We're probably going to have the stats coming up here in a sec. Is that Essugo covers more ground than Caicedo and has a greater engine. I'm surprised by that because Caicedo has a bloody good engine. So when you look at it like that, I have to say that I'm a little bit surprised by that. But again, it's a good quality to have. Now we can see here. Zoom out a little bit. Dario Essugo versus La Liga midfielders and Caicedo versus Premier League midfielders. So Caicedo is dark and Essugo is the green. And I presume that the further out, yes, the closer it is to, the closer it is to the end, the better the player is at that. So Essugo has better stats when it comes to confined defending and combined possession. He has more shots than Caicedo as well. Caicedo has more key passes. He also has more accurate passes. Caicedo attempts more dribbling than Essugo, but Essugo has a higher percentage of success when dribbling, and he wins more duels, he wins more tackles, he wins more percentage of tackles than Caicedo, and he also wins more interceptions, but Caicedo wins more duels. So actually the stats are pretty good for Essugo when you compare him in that regard. You can't deny that. We go down again and we look at Essugo versus Baleba, who is Brighton's midfield, who we hyped up a lot before he played us. Everyone said, you've got to be careful of that Baleba guy. Essugo's got better combined defending, but Baleba has better possession stats and shots and more key passes. Baleba also attempts more dribbles and wins slightly more duels, slightly higher percentage as well. Okay. But Essugo has more accurate passes, a higher percentage of dribble success. He wins more tackles, a higher percentage as well, and has more interceptions. So again, why are these charts relevant? Let's see what he says. He says, I won't go into too much detail about the charts above. Just make of them what you will. Again, I have questions over the squad planning element of this team. How many midfielders we will have is becoming a mythical paradigm of madness. I find it astonishing that Chelsea could end up with Lavia, Fernandes, Caicedo, Santos, Ugochukwu, Pires, Dewsbury Hall, Amugu, and Essugo as well. Now, we've already spoken earlier in the show about the future of Ugochukwu, Dewsbury Hall as well. I think those players are going to be moved on, to be quite honest with you. And Amugu as well will be loaned out. So realistically, we will have Lavia, Fernandes, Caicedo, Santos. Pires is also going out on loan. He'll go to Strasbourg. We already know that. And Essugo. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not terrible, is it? That's not actually that bad. I think it's exaggerated a little bit there with that article. But again, it's that we could end up with that. But if we could manage that well. For 2 to 3 positions, there is hope that Dewsbury Hall will be sold in the coming summer and Amugu loaned to Strasbourg. I don't think that's you don't need to hope for anything. Amugu will be loaned to Strasbourg. Again, we don't know that Dewsbury Hall will be sold. He can be sold, but is the price right? He questions whether there will be enough game time for Lavia, Fernandes, Caicedo, Santos, Ugochukwu, Pires, and Essugo for 3 positions at most. I say absolutely, because someone's going to get injured and we are going to be playing multiple games a week. And if this manager has any ambition, he will take our cup competitions much more serious than he has this season. And we will have more games to play in the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. So when you add those things together, I don't think that that's too many players. I really don't. I just see a comment as well. Pires to Strasbourg is not confirmed. It's not confirmed officially, but I think it will happen. I think it will happen because he doesn't get into this Chelsea side. I don't think that him and Esteval will both play at the same time. I don't see that happening, to be honest. I would like him to go on loan to Strasbourg. I would like that to happen, but I'm sure that it's been spoken about. Alex, can we trust Maresca to be the guide to Elba's final fronts next season if we get into the Champions League? Well, I don't trust Maresca, but, you know, we're not going to sack him. So I don't know what to tell you. Like, I am happy to sit here and complain. I have complained many times. It's gone viral. But that's who we have. And I'm not happy with that. And I can tell, obviously, you're not happy with him. But if he gets us into the Champions League, which is the bare minimum, then I would say, even though I don't like Maresca, he should be given the opportunity to push us forward in those competitions. If he doesn't get us there, then I agree he should go. But he won't. But, you know, one thing that I will say that is good about keeping Maresca, even if he continues to perform poorly, is that this team need a bit of stability and they need an identity. And at least Maresca brings them that. And any manager would bring them that, just so you know, because you just need to get used to having someone. Like Chelsea needs to be an attractive club to come to. And if we're sacking a manager every single season, that's off-putting for any player that wants to sign for us, because you speak to the manager and the manager says he wants you to be a part of his plans, and then another manager comes in. Like, how does that make you feel as a player? Let's see what else he says. So he thinks there's a reasonable chance Ugochukwu and Pires could find themselves out on loan, or Pires playing as what was initially the plan as a number 10, Ugochukwu being sold for a profit. Ugochukwu will probably be sold. I think that will happen, even if it's not for a profit. Apart from the high element, I do think that Essugo has now filled the hole of a lack of ground coverage and dual winning, which is good from a midfield and team balance perspective. The conclusion on the deals, according to this article, is that he thinks both are smart moves. And this is also Quenda, by the way. So both of the Sporting transfers. They're smart moves if they fulfill their talent, and especially if they show their talent. They cover squad profile holes and potentially elevate the squad into making it more complete. They are exciting moves, but they come with great risk, and the whole project has so far. There you go. So that's a little bit of a dive into Essugo. So you can see that in terms of his defensive aspects, like the guy he's pretty damn good. He wins a lot of tackles and he wins a lot of duels. And he actually has a very good, rate in terms of dribbling. But the one thing that really differentiates him from Caicedo, if you were to compare the two, is he's not as good with the passing. His passing accuracy is not great. But we can live with that because we don't try and pass forward anyway. We always pass backwards and sideways, which is fine. Maresca ball. Anyway, let's see what else. I know the season isn't over, but I'm actually excited for what's next to come. Big striker names coming out for us to sign an incoming loanies that will benefit us. Listen, like you, my fingers are crossed, mate. We could make something pretty nice out of this window. We could do that. Also, remember that we could totally fuck up. And the January window was proof to me that we can fumble the bag huge, massively. I hope we don't do it. I hope that we don't fumble it, because even the players that we're talking about, they're players we've already signed, and we're still going, well, I hope Chelsea don't sell those players. So that's my only main concern with that. But listen, I hope we do it. I really do. And if we do the right things, then I will obviously praise the business, because it deserves to be praised. there's no doubt in my mind that we can build a great squad, but we can do it, but you don't know if it's actually going to happen. Now, I want to show you another clip of a player that we've just been speaking about, Dario Essugo, and this is why apparently Chelsea want to buy this player. So let's watch it together. I haven't watched this, by the way, but it's good to get a feel on this midfield. Obviously, he's playing in Las Palmas at the moment. He's a Portuguese international, and we went through some of his stats already. We know that this guy is an animal defensively, but he's also a good dribbler. So, I mean, if I was looking at a player in particular that I haven't watched Essugo, obviously, but Kante was a bit like that. You know, he was a great player defensively, and he was a good dribbler, but he lacked that cutting edge when it came to passing, which is what Caicedo is a little bit better at. But Essugo covers more ground. He wins those duels, and defensively is difficult to beat. His statistics is very difficult. Oh my God, what a goal! I don't think he has much GA, so I'm not going to talk too much about that. His current market value is £15 million. So, again, Chelsea have paid quite a lot of money for this guy. 70 million if you combine the total for Quenda and Essugo as well. Is he worth the money we paid for him? We are going to have to find out. That's the God honest truth. I don't know. The reality is at this moment he's probably not worth it. But again, we're looking at potential, aren't we? We're looking at potential. So if that potential shines through, then you're in a great position. So you can see what this player brings. He's a workhorse. And he puts his body on the line. I think it's a good signing, actually, if I'm honest. I think both of the players from Sporting are good signings. I've been heavily critical of this ownership. I still believe that they don't have the best interests at Chelsea at heart, which is extremely concerning. But, you know, having players like this coming in consistently, if they shine through, it's a model that works well. But we've seen that there's players that don't shine through. So you can't guarantee that Essugo comes in and performs. You can't guarantee that Quenda comes in and performs. You can't guarantee that Kendry Pires and Esteval are able to cut it in the Premier League. You can never guarantee these things. But listen, I hope the odds are in our favour. And I hope the footballing gods are looking down upon us. And, I mean, it's good dribbling, isn't it? Really nice dribbling. God, he's got an engine on him. I see what you mean. This is a proper workhorse. Proper workhorse. So there you have it. It was about 13 million pounds. So not a huge transfer in that respect. let's just hope he doesn't break into the Portuguese first team and want to go on loan because he thinks he's Billy Big Bollocks now. Yeah, I hope that's the case. We can sign players all we like. If we don't have world-class winning gaffer, it won't change anything. Well, I agree with you, mate. We don't have a world-class gaffer, but we'll have to see, mate. We'll have to see. But listen, guys, thanks so much for watching the show. Appreciate your time. I hope you enjoyed that. A deep dive into our midfield. We've got over 70 people in the building at the moment. Smash the likes. Let's get up to 70 likes on the video. It helps the channel and it encourages myself and everyone else to continue making shows. We will be back at 8 o'clock with another video. So stay tuned for that one as well, guys. Really appreciate all your time. And I'll catch up with you at 8 o'clock. All the best.